Bitcoin is now 6 months into its mid-cycle correction, and many are wondering whether or not we have lower to go. What's up, guys? It's CryptoDave here at Top 2 Signals, and in this weekly update, I want to discuss Bitcoin from a couple of different time frames and discuss whether or not we should be worried about a looming correction to the downside if we're going to hold $50,000, and what it would look like and what it would mean for crypto and the overall cycle if we did in fact move even lower. And guys, we do these market updates every single week, so subscribe to the channel, click that little bell, you'll get notified every single time we post and you won't miss an update. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into it. So I want to start here with the monthly time frame for Bitcoin. As you guys know on the channel, we have been looking at this $60,000 territory as a very important level on the monthly time frame. We saw it clearly act as resistance in terms of our monthly candle closes in the last cycle in 2021, and ever since we crossed above it here in 2024 in March, we have been able to hold above $60,000 in terms of monthly candle body closes. I think that this is very important because it is a textbook previous resistance turning into newfound support. It looks very bullish. However, here we are in month 7 trading above this range, and we are just barely holding on. Now, of course, there are 2 more weeks in the month of September, so anything can happen, but I think a candle body close below this range is possible, and if we see this, it would be a huge confirmation that we likely have a little bit further to drop before we can actually turn the tides and resume the uptrend of the overall cycle. Now, it's important to note, I do dollar cost average Bitcoin, and I do think that dollar cost averaging this current range is certainly on the table. However, if you do start to build a position now, and Bitcoin does lose this monthly level, I don't really see another monthly level of support until around this $45,000 level. This was a huge monthly resistance back in our bear market in 2022, and I think it has the potential to act as strong newfound support if we do in fact move lower, which would be about a 22% correction from where we currently are, and from top to bottom, it would constitute about a 38% correction. Now, I think for a lot of people, this would be extremely difficult to stomach. Obviously, 38% correction in any asset is a pretty substantial correction. But even for Bitcoin, a more volatile asset, it's definitely substantial. It feels really tough. Even in the midst of a bull market, it's very hard to watch your value drop a total of 38%, especially considering that altcoins are nowhere near that part of the cycle where they are bound to outperform. So if anything, this is going to hit even harder for altcoins if we do in fact get this correction below $50,000. I think that altcoins would be in absolute shambles. I think bag holders over the last few months would start to turn over and capitulate their bags. I think it would honestly be a ton of short-term mayhem if we do in fact get this lower move down to about the $45,000 range. I do think that if you've been patient with your capital, if you've kept cash on the sidelines, and you've waited for these deep discounts, this could be a very promising opportunity. It's just a matter of being patient, and it's a matter of understanding what confirmations we need to see, not only on the high time frames, but on the short time frames in order to confirm whether or not we will be moving below $50,000. So I'm going to turn it over to the weekly time frame now, because I think that this further reinforces my thesis that even if we do drop to levels such as $45,000 for Bitcoin, we are still going to be well within a bull market. For Bitcoin, it's well within what we know to be a healthy correction for Bitcoin, and I do think that this would be sort of the last line in the sand in terms of a bull market being concerned. So if we just take a look at the 2016-2017 cycle, this was one of the most technically sound bull markets that we've ever had for any asset, but especially for Bitcoin, and we saw 7 different times a correction greater than 30%, upwards of 40% for Bitcoin. Starting from the bottom in 2015 all the way to the top in 2017, we had 7 major corrections within this cycle, all at least 30%, some up to about 40%. So I only demonstrate this to make the point that even if Bitcoin were to go back down to $45,000, which is about the price that Bitcoin got up to before the ETF started to trade, it would be about a 38% correction from top to bottom, which is perfectly in line with what we have seen historically. So I don't want anybody to panic on the off case that Bitcoin does continue to move lower. It's just a matter of putting things into perspective, understanding the inherent risks at play in the moment, and how you guys can play certain scenarios, whether or not we do move down, whether or not we do hold $50,000. So I just wanted to show you guys that in case the idea of going down to $45,000 absolutely terrifies you. Believe me, it would be tough to stomach in the short term, but I do think that overall it would be very healthy. And I think, again, it'd be sort of that last line in the sand, that last capitulative push before I think things really start to turn around. But let's go ahead and dig into the daily time frame, and let's figure out what we need to see on some lower time frames in order to confirm whether or not we are in fact going to go below $50,000. Because let's remember, $50,000 could always hold up, Bitcoin could always stay above this level, and then we could always resume the bull market from there too. So we need to consider both scenarios. Let's go ahead and dig into the daily time frame. So my perspective on the daily time frame is very simple. To me, in terms of market structure, this looks like a pure mid-cycle correction. There's really nothing about this that screams a blow-off top or any sort of substantial bear market. And obviously things have not been particularly bullish because we've been correcting for quite some time. So simply based on a market structure perspective, I do think that this is more of a mid-cycle correction. I will say Bitcoin has shown quite a bit of weakness here, setting in lower high after lower high. We can see this with our regression channel high, and we can even see this recently. Our last two highs have failed to really get anywhere significant within the channel. We haven't even visited back to the regression channel high really since July 30th of 2024. So our previous two swing highs that we were working with are not very promising. Both of them are coming off of a bounce from around this $50,000 level, this order block that we've been putting a lot of importance, a lot of significance into. And this is ultimately the line in the sand. So again, to come down to this significant level of support, to have these major reactions that ultimately fall pretty short, continuing to set in lower highs, that is where I am finding the weakness for Bitcoin on the daily time frame. We can even note two pretty important levels as of recent, this sort of 63.3 and as well as this 61.7. Both of these have some nice confluence in terms of our recent history, and we weren't even able to track up to these levels. It should not be understated the short-term weakness that we are seeing for Bitcoin and the inability to really get any sort of significant follow-through after these major bounces to the upside. We can also notice our 21 and our 50 daily EMAs. We have the green line and the red line here. This is an excellent indicator in terms of the overall strength of the trend, and we can see that for the last 6 months, we've ultimately been sideways. We've had bullish crosses, bearish crosses, but we really have not been able to significantly hold the EMA as support or resistance. So this is another thing that tells me that we are simply in that choppy corrective stage, because the EMA cloud is not dictating a strong uptrend and it's not dictating a strong downtrend. But yet again, we are unable to close above the cloud and remain above the cloud for any sort of significant period of time. We have failed to get the 21 crossing above the 50. So again, just in terms of the moving averages that we're watching here on the channel, there's just not a lot of strength for Bitcoin. So that's going to bring me to my more hopeful comment on the Bitcoin analysis that we have for today, which is simply that this order block around $50,000 to $52,000 has largely held up. We've seen two major retests right about around this range in line with our regression channel low. So our support is continuing to hold, and this is the silver lining that we have here on the daily time frame, that even though we don't have really strong or bullish market structure by any degree, we are continuing to hold some key levels. And in terms of the actual market structure we do have a nice regression channel. Overall, this would be a very nice bull flag where the flagpole takes a few months. The actual flag itself takes about 6 months, and then we can continue the uptrend. There's not a lot of strength, but there's also not too much weakness. We have not lost the key $50,000 level just yet. So I've highlighted this range here where we have the regression channel low coming into the order block. I think there's a lot of confluence here. I think it's definitely worth a bid. I will personally be dollar cost averaging this range should we get there. However, we do have to understand that the more times you test a level of support, the weaker that it potentially becomes. So this is going to be a very, very telling moment for Bitcoin. I do think that the lack of strength means that we will roll back over to the range. And if there's one thing I want you guys to take away from this video today, it's that the $50,000 order block is a huge and critical level for Bitcoin. Getting some sort of nice positive reaction here once again would be rather promising, but if we do see some daily candles, some weekly candles closing below this level, I think we will be in fact in for some lower levels, potentially down into the mid to low $40,000 as we've previously discussed. Also, if we want to consider the RSI and the MACD here on the daily time frame, we did stick in some nice bullish divergence here in terms of Bitcoin on the daily time frame. Right, we had this slightly lower low in terms of candle body closure, and we had a nice higher low in the RSI. Same thing here with our MACD histogram. So it's very possible here that if we stick in another slight lower low in terms of candle body closes, that we continue this long drawn out sort of bullish divergence that we have on the indicators. We would be doing so at a key level of macro support this could be a very promising look if it in fact plays out that way. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see. That $50,000 level is the crucial mark for Bitcoin right now. There is not a whole lot of strength otherwise, unless we can decisively defend that level and kick off an uptrend that has real bullish follow through. Because until that happens, we are only testing and testing and testing the same level over and over again. It's likely going to lead to a collapse if we do not have a significant show of strength at 50,000 and higher. We are probably going to be moving a little bit lower, but I just wanted to point out that bullish divergence and the possibility that the bullish divergence continues. If we do in fact hold 50K with some continued bullish divergence, I think it would be an even stronger signal. So you guys might understand here that there are some mixed messages. Are we weak? Are we strong? Well, there's an argument to be made on both sides of things, hence the mid-cycle correction. But again, if there's anything that you can take away, it's that $50,000 order block, which is really going to be the line in the sand. It is going to be the deciding factor here for Bitcoin. So we're going to want to pay attention to it over the next few days, next couple of weeks. We'll be tracking it here closely on the channel. And with that, guys, this market update is going to come to an end. There's really not too much to say in terms of altcoins this week. However, if you want to subscribe to the channel and tick that little bell, you will be notified every single time that we post. And guys, you can join our premium Discord server today down below with the link in the description. You'll have access to 20 plus analysts such as myself. We cover crypto, stocks, and Forex. You'll have access to our entry sniper indicator, which you can also learn how to use here on our channel. So guys, make sure you're subscribed. Like the video, leave a comment. Let me know if you think that Bitcoin is going to hold that $50,000 level. And until next week, I'll catch you on the Discord. Peace.